And welcome back, YouTube, to another build up. I actually did a full build recording. Unfortunately it was 6 hours long and I was rambling the whole time, and in the end I just couldn't make a sensible editing of it. But this is our new light cruiser, Vera. 95 meters long, 19 width, height 22, 111,000. A bit more expensive than what I initially hoped, but there were some changes made due to updates that have been applied, and there were some changes to the laser munition system, and I just kind of went, okay, we're gonna have to update the ship up as well. So yeah, I was doing that, which is a bit annoying. And the changes weren't even that significant, just the power draw was significantly lower, and crime cannons were somehow had much easier time passing through the laser munition defense on the ship, so I was just beefing it up a little bit. On the other hand, advanced cannons, high explosive, slow flying advanced cannons have been shot down way too easily, so I'm not really sure if this update gonna stick, but yeah, for now I just added a couple of laser munition defense in the front, and hopefully that will be good enough. And now since this is gonna be pretty much our ship, how it performs, well, against its own size it does just fine. When it comes down to slightly bigger ships, it goes into a bit more of a trouble, and it's how well the guns start to hit, which we have 4 main guns with near 300mm diameter, and they fire pure armor piercing. At this caliber of a gun, you pretty much have only a couple of solid choices, that's pure armor piercing or fragmentation, and I wouldn't really recommend any other, simply due to the way that the guns in this game work. Bigger guns are usually more for high explosive potential damage. Smaller guns lean more toward, well, they don't really lean toward, they just kind of maintain frag or AP. That's the two viable choices, and I went with AP. Smaller guns do benefit more from fragmentation. Like if you go with 200mm guns, they would benefit more from fragmentation, but AP, yeah, on these guns just works just fine. Then the second weapon is this gun, 200mm, but it actually fires, it's a smoke gun. That's what it is, and it's actually a bit too engineered for being a smoke gun. It does not require, if you build smoke guns, they don't require this rate of fire. But yeah, this is pretty much just us fighting the Onyx Watch, and the Onyx Watch does use laser munition defense, so having smoke to kinda disable that option for them is always a good thing. And the last but not the least are our torpedoes. Yet again, Onyx Watch, a lot of ships, and well, torpedoes work very well against ships. That's something that we cannot deny. And as you can see, we are doing just fine against similar sized vessel. Now you go against something like the Alcazar, it becomes more of a trick shot. It depends on what we hit with our guns. It depends what our torpedoes hit. If the Alcazar's guns are somewhat disabled early on, then we actually have like a pretty good chance of winning. If not, yeah, then it's a bit of a questionable one. One-on-one at least. Of course, this ship is going to work with the rest of our vessels. That's why I also have the smoke gun there. even though the ship alone does not have any missiles on board. Our other ships do, and they don't have any smoke guns. So yeah, missiles do get stopped by laser munition defense, so they're gonna greatly benefit from the ship having a smoke gun, even though, as I said before, the ship on its own has no missiles. Yeah, I did wanna put missiles on it, but the price of 110,000, I did wanna keep it as low as possible. So yeah, we're kinda stuck with no missiles. Yeah. We do have slightly bit of a laser on top, which will be good for shooting down planes and stuff like that. Smaller planes, not big ones. The big ones will get through just fine. Smaller ones, however, the annoying ones that fly right above your ship, these lasers will take care of them. And overall, the ship looks fairly nice up as well. So let's show you how it's actually built. To which I just literally made a cutout of a ship. So we're gonna pick this one. Yeah, cut right down on one side, and as you can see, it's a lot of internal components wrapped in the shell of 2 metal and an alloy. So the ship is going to withstand some hits, not too many. The alloy on the inside will take care that the ship will not sink even when it's badly damaged. And I literally had the ship on tests being below 50% and still swimming. So yeah. Now I started with the ship by building the guns, the 2 turrets at the front, added an engine, and of course then just wrapped the whole thing up, and then pretty much saw how much space I have for a smoke gun, and torpedoes then are pretty much just right on the deck. So yeah, that's how I built. The ammo is in the front. I did actually initially wanted to have it at the back, but the weight at the back just pushed the ship too deep into the water, and then I would have to put some heavy armor at the front up as well just to balance it out, and that's not it. It quickly escalated beyond a reasonable price. So yeah, originally laser munition defense was only in this top section above the engine, but as I said, when they done the update, I extended the laser munition defense to the front up as well, just to get that extra engine power, even though we have way too much engine power for the current setting. So I don't know, we could shorten out some of the engine off. It wouldn't really hurt us, and if the changes revert for some or other reason, we have enough engine power, I presume, to keep the ship going. The control of the ship, pretty much a single rudder at the back. Propellers are at the bottom over this dovetail. We could add more propellers, however, I'm already having like plenty of this hydrofoil, just trying to keep the ship stable in the water, and it's yeah, adding more propulsion would not help with that. The center is, yeah, just kinda like that. Yeah, now the guns do fire pure AP. If you check down here, it's just AP, sabot, and a base bleeder, and then gunpowder behind it. And this actually does quite any damage. 15,000, expected annual penetration of 20. Shells are 716 meters a second. So yeah, they do have problems hitting shields, but even that does not completely stop them, and often they will pass through and do damage to the ship behind the shields. So that's a good thing. The rear gun here, pretty much fires smoke shells, which I forgot where I put. Oh no, they're right here. So it's AP cap, smoke hat, and a time fuse, and that's for the smoke gun. As I said, this smoke gun is a bit too overly engineered. The only thing you really need out of a smoke gun is to be 200mm or bigger, and it will deploy smoke just fine, even if it has a relative slow rate of fire, because smoke does last around 40 seconds. So if it doesn't actively get shot down, then the rate of fire on these guns is not all that important. It's nice to have extra rate of fire, but it's simply not that important. The AI in the center here, right behind the engine, is having 4 settings here, all broadside. Yeah, this is horrible. This is horrible behavior for the AI. This type of an S-turn is not good. So yeah, I give it 4 settings. Broadside right, broadside left. On this is presuming that the ship is approaching, and then broadside right reverse and broadside left reverse, or retreat when the ship is trying to sail away from the target. And you can actually configure this like with an ABC controller or something like that, but I decided on a bread box which was updated up as well. Now you can zoom in and out with this bread box, which is nice, so you can actually see what you're doing. And I kind of composed this relative simple setting changes here, which is most likely overcomplicated, but yeah, it does take into account the distance to the target and the angle that the target is facing. So once the ship, if the ship have its target on the left, then it's gonna assume left broadside. If it has it on the right, it's gonna assume right broadside. If the ship is further away than 900 meters, then the ship will approach at 70 degrees, and if it's closer than 900 meters, the ship will turn and sail away from the target at 110 degrees, so it will be shooting backwards. It won't completely turn and show its ass. It will actually maintain a firing angle where the guns can still shoot, and that's kind of important. You want your ships to keep on shooting even when they're technically running away. So yeah, now to build guns like that at the front, it's not that actually hard, so I can actually show that relatively quickly where it is at test vote. Yeah. If somebody doesn't know how to build those, it's actually a very simple process. You just pick a new object, a turret, and then just start off with advanced cannons. And the only kind of difficult part or annoying part is this one, placing like a block here, because these things do not connect anywhere but at the input point. So yeah, that's super annoying. But after you have that down, it's kinda a lot easier. So yeah, outer cooling units. And just it's annoying to build this way. I would just love it that T section actually would be able to connect over all of its pieces, but yeah. So you only have to worry about this T-junction piece to be always connected from a direction where the advanced firing piece is coming. So advanced firing piece, T-junction, and then down, and T-junction again, and another. So yeah. Of course the AI can be just shoved in like this, right to the center, and a failsafe, and of course a receiver up as well. So yeah, and the thing kinda goes at the here, right here. And of course then you have to include some asymmetry into this as well, ejector, so we get extraculation going. Oh Christ, extraculation going on, but these guns are like the simplest guns you can construct of somewhat of large caliber, and they are somewhat symmetrical, but not completely. But this is more or less to allow us to attach autoloaders back and front of the actual gun up, rather than anything else. The collation is kind of annoying, and you kind of have to keep an eye how quickly the guns cool down, because that kind of determines the rate of fire, but so do autoloaders. So if you have too many autoloaders, won't really work, but if you have too few of them, won't work either. So like this, yes. And the same goes for collation. So you kind of have to figure out a balance of them. There's some math involved, which most likely will frustrate many of you, because math. But in general, we kind of get, well, kind of get used to it. It's not exactly the right word. You get experience at building this thing, so something like this. And then of course you also have to need the input feeders. And I also added, of course, the ejectors, because they're kind of handy. Ammo ejectors. Now, I wouldn't. If you're putting ammo ejectors with the pure armor piercing shells, the armor piercing, when it gets ejected, does not actually hurt the ship. But if you're putting any other type of round, like fragmentation, explosive, or something like that, it will hurt the ship. So you also gonna need something called emergency ejector defuse, which is, yeah, kind of annoying, and it shorten out the shells and everything else. So, but it's kind of good to have as well. Self-injury is usually not the preferred method. So yeah, and then just the emergency ejector is here. Ejector diffuse, but AP capped heads usually do not hurt the guns, the ship, all that much. Ah, this is gonna be, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you of course, the amount of gouge increases pretty much determines the size of the gun, and of course the cooling vents determine the coolation. So yeah, and as I said, these are really simple guns like this, and of course they're mirrored on 4 sides, which gives us a good 8 autoloaders per gun, and that gives it like 40 rounds a minute, slightly less than that. In burst it's a bit higher, you can get it higher, but yeah, there is no real need to do that. The engines I built on the ship are kind of somewhat in between mix. They're not the most economical ones, but they're also not the super consumption ones, and just very simple as well, pretty much just to consume as little space as possible. And that's kind of the engine that I try to build as much as possible. In the end, it was the whole point of the ship to make it small yet big enough to defend itself, and to kind of also be the priority target for enemy vessel to shoot at, while the rest of the vessels kind of stay safe. But yeah, so yeah, there are engines like these. Not the greatest things ever, but they will serve our purpose. And of course they have to also vent themselves out of using the carburetors, turbochargers, I'm sorry. Not connected to a carburetor. Oh, I turned them wrong. Ay, like that. Yeah, and then this, of course, connect to something or steam pipe. And the same thing goes to the bottom, well, steam pipe or exhaust pipe. I'm constantly thinking steam engines. So yeah, not the most fuel efficient engines, but they're small enough, they're compact enough, and they provide us with enough power for pretty much laser munition defense. Now on the ship I didn't really bother with placing any shields on, for I really didn't think I will have engine power for it. But as I said, with laser munition changes, with laser changes, we could easily add up a couple of shields and we would not run out of energy. But then it's the cost and its complexity and extra time that I would spend on it, and I just decided to, nah, we can do without shields for now. The Onyx watch is not that heavy in the advanced cannon side, so it's gonna be just fine. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty much our light cruiser for, I'm guessing, vast majority of the game. And it has neat capabilities, somewhat all-around capabilities. Does not excel in any particular case. Now, with the size of around 10,000 in volume, we do have options. We could have like smaller, faster firing guns at the front. Oh, I'm not on it. But yeah, I decided up against them. I was thinking about putting like 200mm AP shells, but then decided for a bit larger caliber, as these guns showed more consistent performance when dealing with shielded targets, and we will be dealing with shielded targets, so yeah, that's gonna come in handy. One of the concerns that I'm having is going against the Onyx watch. At the difficulty level that we're currently going at, there are gonna be most likely quite a few Eries, and the ship on its own, it's not gonna be able to defeat an Erie, most definitely. But the smoke gun will be useful to disable Erie's munition defense, so hopefully our missile ships can do the rest of the work there and kill the Erie quick enough, or at least disable most of its guns to allow the ships to do its thing. So yeah. So yeah, this is pretty much something in between. It's not yet there where we could single-handedly defeat every single opponent there is, but at the same time, for a difficult setting we are going at, for the size we were going at, for the firepower, for the defense, I think it's gonna be fine enough. Now against lightning hoods, no white flares here, the guns on it could use shields. Against lightning hoods we could use some extra smoke. Against steel striders I'm not really sure what to do about that. They do use a lot of missiles on steel strider side. Twin guard is questionable in a lot of cases, but I think we're gonna do just fine with the things we are having here. So yeah, something of in between ship, between we seriously get serious and just not spending too much material on trying to fight the Onyx watch. Pretty much yeah, it's gonna be working for now. It's gonna be working, I'm guessing, all the way till Scarlet Dawn. And the shells are quick enough to they're actually hitting their targets in a fairly consistent manner. And the laser is also doing its work there, even though, as you can see, just a couple of hits from the lasers. It's not a laser ship. It does not have that amount of power on the laser to effectively kill vessels. And as you can see here, the AI is shifting depending on the primary target of the vessel. it's kind of fun to watch how it changes its behavior once the targets actually move from one connection to another. Oh. Yeah, but this is gonna be pretty much the end of this video. As I said, the original video was way too long. Just way too long and way too cumbersome to edit. So hopefully a slightly different format will still suit. And yeah, it's not perfect. It's not by far not the perfect ship, but I kinda wanted something like this, and I'm quite happy with the result. But yeah, definitely not ideal, definitely not a master build, definitely not gonna be the ship that's gonna carry our fat asses through the entire game, but as a starter and going against the Onyx Watch, yeah, it's gonna do just fine. And that's all gonna be it for tonight. See ya.